In the last session, I had set up some keyframes, and I have 10 of them. I have 10 keyframes now. And it was, what I was doing is I was flying through the scene, coming through a pause, and then doing a right bank turn. Well, I have actually rendered the preview a little larger than I normally do so that we can see it better. Let's take a look at the preview. All right. So this is not good. You can see here I'm doing a fly through. All right, we're looking down a little bit as we move forward, and then you can see here I'm coming up on the pause, the stop, which I intend. But now look at this. There's a little glitch. There's something wrong with my animation. Now this is a good opportunity to look at this. I don't know, what would you call it, a failed situation? Is a bad move in there. There was suddenly a jump. Well, that's not the kind of animation that I'm willing to accept. Now, there's a couple ways you can address this. You can throw everything out, start over. That's not really, it's not very efficient. Or what you can do is try to identify the keyframe that's got the problem. All right, in this case, right about here, we have a sudden glitch. Okay, we can try to figure out the problem and go back to that keyframe and try to fix it. Now, unfortunately, what you're going to be trying to fix is not just a keyframe, but a keyframe, two keyframes, because the problem is not just one keyframe, because these keyframes are related to one another, and they're related in the sense that the Mandelbulb 3D software is going to interpolate subframes between these two. So if you fix, quote unquote, fix this keyframe, well, it may not render the subframes quite the way you anticipated. Now, let me say this. So there's a couple ways to be able to fix this. Another way to fix this is to find out where your problem keyframe is and delete all the keyframes after that point, all right, and start over with that one keyframe where the issue begins. Now, if you had a situation where you've made 30 keyframes and you have this, and I'm going to probably say this is somewhere around maybe keyframe number 5 or 6. If you had a situation like this and you find yourself throwing away 10 or 15 keyframes or 20 keyframes, that's a lot of work. That's a lot of work. So you could also try to fix it in the video editor. You might be able to. You might be able to cut it out. You might be able to adjust the speed or in some way hide the problem. Maybe you could I don't know, maybe you could fade to black or maybe put a title over it or do something. So you might be able to hide it, all right? So we either try to fix the frame or we find the frame that has the problem and start over from there, throw all the other keyframes away and start over from there, or we try to fix it in the video editor. Now, the whole concept here the rule of thumb that I live by is never go too far with your keyframes until you're certain that you have something you like. All right, so this is why I'm 10 keyframes in here, and then I did a good preview, and I looked at it and I said, I've got a problem. So I'm in a position where I could throw away 5 keyframes, no big deal. Do keep in mind that I'm okay with throwing away 5 keyframes because I've documented what I intended to do, but just something didn't work out. So I could find the keyframe that's the problem, modify my documentation if I want, and then I can recreate the keyframes that I threw out because I've got the documentation of what I intended to do. So my approach here is probably going to be find the keyframe where there's a problem, delete all the ones after that, and then recreate my animation with my documentation. Okay, that's really the most efficient workflow. But first, we need to find where the problem is. So this is a good opportunity to take a look at a situation where we have obviously we have a bad animation move in there. But before I destroy this situation, I'm going to point something else out. You'll notice here that at the very end of my preview, I find my camera in an awkward situation. Now I'm going to go ahead and stop this. I'm not going to exit the preview. I'm going to actually stop the animation of the preview, and I'm going to work my way all the way to the end here because I'm on a slightly different topic now, so bear with me. You see how my camera is kind of diving into this situation, which happens to be over here, okay? It doesn't look good. In other words, my flight path is basically diving me into the fractal, and I'm not in a good scene. I'm just not in a good place. I have essentially navigated my camera into a situation which is not good. It's just not good. All right, now tying this back in with our glitch problem, at this point I could say, look, not only do I have to find that glitch, that sudden jerkiness, but I also don't like the flight path that I took here. So I'm okay with throwing half of these keyframes away and starting over because I don't like where my animation brought me. Okay? But this is why you preview, this is why you document and keep your notes so that you can recreate it, and this is why you don't go into too many, you don't create too many keyframes until you're absolutely certain that that is the flight path that you want. If this was a good flight path, I would save the animation, I would save it, and then I would say, okay, I'm good from here. I'm good up to keyframe 11 or 16 or whatever it may be. And I'm confident moving forward that I'm working with a good speed and I'm working with a good flight path and I don't have any glitches. And then I'll repeat the process. So I'll do a segment. I don't know. I'm just say I'll do 1 to 9 keyframes. Check it out, fix it or throw it away, whatever I got to do. I like that. And then I will do keyframes 10 to 16. Check it out, test it, preview it, move on. Okay? Never get in so deep with the number of keyframes that you've created before you're certain that those keyframes are going to give you the animation that you want in terms of your flight path, and also in terms of the smoothness, the move, the moveness, the smoothness of your animation. Let's take a minute or two and see if we can figure out where that bad keyframe is. So right here, all right there, it's right there. Now, I know you can't see our keyframe number up there. There we go. There we go. Okay, all of a sudden, you know, we've got a nice, by the way, I can't loop this thing in a certain section. All right. If I fire up my OBS and I capture it, then I could loop on a certain section, but I can't do that with the Mandelbulb 3D previewer. But that's okay. We don't really need to. So here I'm in my pause or my stop. So I'm here. That's good. I'm going to push that down. All right, to indicate the keyframes that I haven't inspected yet. All right, so that pause takes me up to about keyframe 1157. Okay, so that put me somewhere in here. So there, oh, there we go. There we go. You see that? Keyframe 1201. Now keep in mind that we are rendering every second frame. You see it up here? Every second frame. So we see here at frame 1200 or 201, that's our glitchy, which is right here. So I'm going to isolate that. So right here is our glitch problem. So what happened? Okay, I think I see what happened. All right, all of a sudden, like look at this now, real slow. All of a sudden, well, I'm moving forward, but I'm just turning too hard. I'm turning too hard. Let me start it up again. You see how it doesn't, all right, anyway. All right, there's my stop. Okay, oh, all right. So it looks like I was banking but not moving forward. So I think what happened was that for whatever reason, I may have actually forgotten to move forward on this keyframe, keyframe number 6. Now, if I try to fix that, I can call that keyframe back down again and I can move, but what's going to happen is I'm going to throw all of that off. It's just not, the animation's not going to work well. So I'm happy that I have an idea where the problem is, and I'm happy that I didn't go too deep. I didn't go too many keyframes before I inspected it. And I'm also happy that I have documentation to show me as a blueprint to be able to move forward. So in the next session, we're going to see if we can fix this situation. This is a good example to about kind of the real life of a Mandelbulb 3D fractal artist creating an animation, a complex animation, more than just flying through the scene. We're trying to turn and bank and have a grand old time. More complex, but certainly very doable considering certain workflow principles. Okay? All right, so we'll pick this up in the next session. I'll see you there.